Thank you, comrades. And I must really thank you for bringing a much needed perspective to this discussion, debate, and input. I'm not going to try to summarize that at all. I think the community, the worker representative, and groundwork as an organization have made their input constructively, passionately, convincingly, and adequately. Thank you very much. I hope Rudi can give us 5 minutes, as we call up the chairperson of the Mpumalanga Youth Chamber, and I would appeal to the colleague to be no more than 5 minutes, please. Thank you.
Good morning to the House. My name is Joseph Mutegi. I'm serving as the chairperson of the Mpumalanga Chamber of Commerce and Industries. I asked for these 5 minutes to maybe elaborate and put our view as far as just transition is concerned. I want to register to say that just transition comes just after we had COVID-19, which harmed our economy, particularly in the Mpumalanga, very, very harshly. So we must say, when we are dealing with just transition and bring remedies to bring up a new economy by changing the way we do things in terms of skills development. And when this just transition finds us where we are faced with a fourth industrial revolution, which wants us to integrate to a new technology, which we must create new employment for the youth and the people that are going to lose employment as far as coal is concerned. In the Mpumalanga Economic Recovery and Reconstruction Plan put in place already by the Office of the Premier stipulates how we need employment and infrastructure development as the province to create a stimulus package in terms of creating a new economy post-COVID-19 and to respond to the current issues that we have. And we know that the Office of the President is dealing with the district development model that is not integrated to the MERRP. We are saying to the Just Transition team, please, the Office of the Premier and the Office of the MEC LED has the plans that when as entities want to invest in Mpumalanga, you must put them into place so that it cannot contradict with the plans that the province has to bring a new economy. We are saying to the ESCOM, we heard yesterday the contribution by the CEO to say that you will avail the land. But as young people, we are saying there must not be any red tapes that are there because there is no tree for experience. So there is no way we can get an experience without having the necessary. So we are asking that ESCOM executive please assist us to remove the red tapes on the application, and we must also cease to support the issue of tendering more than allowing young people to express themselves in terms of proposals to bring, because we heard that NESA is going to assist with that 100 megawatts. You are not going to need a license, but you are going to need a land to be able to produce that electricity. So we are putting our view to ESCOM to say that if you are giving us the land, please remove all the necessary red tapes. And we know that there are environmental related matters that must be discussed. We are asking that the MRP please make trainings available for young people so that they can be able to get into a just transition with so much knowledge so that they can assist the process to be easy. Lastly, there is an artisanal small-scale mining policy of 2021 presented by a DMRE. We are saying we've been having such policies. We have policy of 2018, we have policy, I think, of 2014 or 13 with DMRE, but there is no implementation. So we are asking our political heads to say they must look closely to that matter and assist where is due. With these 5 minutes that I'm given, thank you very much. I submarine.
Thank you very, very much for that. The next speaker, we have been waiting with bated breath to hear from Rudi Dix. Rudi is a stalwart in the labor movement before he moved to the high office of being the coordinator of the project management office in the office of the President of the Republic. Rudi has also been executive director at Naledi, so he has this really formidable task of knitting together all of that we've heard from communities, workers, industry, business, in terms of the economic opportunities. And he's also going to tell us how far we have reached with respect to the JET-P and the promise that the Global North countries in partnership have made towards at least assisting in a catalytic way our just energy transition. Thank you, Rudi. Moses.
So how do I start to talk about these issues after such a spirited presentation from the colleague that was here earlier on, also from the comrades from groundwork? Really difficult for me to come in at this end and talk now about financing and how we're going to do that. But it's Premier, thank you for inviting us. Premier Matsweni Tsipani and your MECs, mayors, comrades and leaders from different community-based organizations and leaders from the trade union movement, funders, the European Union, who has been quite an important partner to talk about financing for the just energy transition. I've just got a few points to make, and I'm not going to be too long here. Probably 15 minutes, but I can go on forever sometimes. So you would have to also tell me stop at some point. But I thought it's really very important just to kind of give a context and to sketch where we got with the just energy transition package or partnership as it's been referred to, and why that is an important component of South Africa's just energy transition. Because it's a component. It is not South Africa's just energy transition per se. It's very important to clarify that. But I think it started a little bit, and I think Chippy probably had covered it, but I think it's important for us to also, from a government perspective, and where I sit in having dealt with international partners in negotiating the political declaration that was eventually endorsed and adopted by the South African government, and of course the 5 partners that were part of it. Over the last 2 to 3 years, we've made some kind of major changes in the way that we see economic growth, the way we see just energy transition, the way we see climate change. And for many years, South Africa is very robust in its conversations and debates around some of the policy changes and trajectory that we face, have more recently taken quite a more radical stance. And that has partly been brought about by no small measure by, I think, Chippy and his team at the PCC. When the formation of the PCC happened, I think they've taken quite a radical stance, important stance, in initiating a debate around how we can manage and develop a posture and a policy position that can support the just transition. Because it is necessary. That's important. It's no longer a debate about whether just transition is necessary or not, but a just transition is an important component of how we see economic growth going forward. And Ken's input is partly covering that when we develop and ensure that our economic interventions are there, that these interventions do integrate in a very granular detail the just transition component. This is not an add-on, because I think what we have been settled with is an add-on. So we talk about economic transformation, we talk about economic reconstruction, we talk about industrialization, and then we say afterwards, oh, don't forget the just transition component. Now, that kind of economic planning and that kind of economic reconstruction is no longer the kind of thinking that I think South African government has to embark on. It is important that we integrate it and assimilate it in our kind of thinking, and this is quite important in the way that we have conceptualized as a South African government a just transition partner. And of course, as we move on, what we have seen previously is fundamentally a shift in the way that we think. And of course, what has happened during the course of the last few months, and probably the last year, was the adoption by the cabinet of a just energy transition framework, and that is the economy, followed by the adoption of a climate change bill, followed by the adoption of fundamentally the national determination contributions. And the NDC sets out a very ambitious target, and I think this is fundamental. Because the NDC in itself, in setting out that ambitious target, began to indicate and send signals not only to South Africa but to the rest of the world that for us to be able to achieve this level of ambition requires fundamental think about how this is going to be achieved. And it's why the discussion on a just energy and finance package is so central to that conversation. And let's make it very clear. If you talk about the numbers, and there are many numbers that are banded around the premium economies. For example, if one puts it at the lower end, it's estimated that if we want to achieve our NDC target by 2050, it would probably cost us a minimum of $250 billion. What does that mean in rand terms? That means close to 4 trillion rand between now and 2050. Investments to be able to achieve that NDC or that transition target. That is huge. We don't have that money, of course. But it's also important for us to take responsibility, and we will obviously have to make sure that many of fiscal allocations are going to be able to support that kind of transition. Particularly one looks at what is happening in PPP, for example, recently, and the importance of developing climate resilient infrastructure. But largely, the funding of that, how we must be committed to our partnerships with international communities. And it's why we entered into that international partner negotiations, and eventually in October, November, we were able to achieve a political declaration on the just energy transition. But the just energy transition, for many countries of the year who have seen it, sets aside, or at least the international partner group, which is made up of the US, the UK, Germany, France, and of course the European Union, offers $8.5 billion as part of an initial tranche of, I need to be careful about my words, because we're into negotiations, and so it's a bit tricky. It's a bit tricky. I wanted to talk about this because as comrades know, particularly those in the union movement, we don't want to say something while we're still busy negotiating. So I have to choose my words very carefully. So the offer, or the commitment that is made, is $8.5 billion, which roughly translates again into about 130 billion rand. And that commitment is a 3 to 5 year commitment. Now, it also allows us to be able to say, if that's the kind of commitment for the next 3 to 5 years, are we able to structure a partnership for the long term? Because it's not easy just to get into a partnership and talk about 3 to 5 years. Once you get into this kind of negotiations around the 8.5 billion commitment and trying to unpack what that 8.5 billion would mean in terms of funding flows, will it be grant funding, will it be debt funding, will it be concessional debt funding, hybrid concessional debt funding, will it be private sector funding? These are all complex matters in the way that we have to look at that offer and commitment that we've given. But it's an important commitment and a start towards funding some of the transition commitments that we've set ourselves up. What does that political declaration refer to? There are three fundamental things that we negotiated with the IPG, with those five partners. Firstly, that we have made a decision that it will be quite critical to fund the most important component and the most high emission sector, which is the electricity sector. And the emissions of the electricity sector, as many of you know, would be contributes about 40 to 45% to GHG emissions, and that is fundamental. So in a sense, if you are addressing the electricity sector, you are making fundamental changes to the way we produce energy and to the way that energy is dispatched, because there's a huge multiplier effect. The second component of that IPG political declaration for South Africa is that we were looking for two additional areas of funding. The first is electric vehicles. And electric vehicles is an important component, partly so because one of our largest manufacturing sectors in terms of export earnings is vehicle manufacturing. Our largest trading partner, in which we export in excess of 500,000 vehicle units per year, and roughly derive about 200 to 220 billion rand a year from exports of auto vehicles, is the European Union. And why does it make this point important? Only because the EU Commission is engaging in a fundamental debate and has taken a resolution already around an adjustment board tax. That basically means that, in simple terms, if you're producing internal combustion engines, which we do with many of the vehicles that we have, we're no longer going to import those vehicles because we are moving entirely to the electric vehicle sector. Therefore, the impact on South Africa will be phenomenal, because it means basically our biggest trading partner in terms of vehicle exports will be cut off in 2035. So this is a fundamental conversation that we have to have and engage with. We've put it in the political declaration. It's a matter that we need to look at in terms of how we adjust and invest into EVs and shift away from ICE vehicles. The third and also very important component is green hydrogen, and I'm sure you've had many conversations from different aspects of people that have come around to talk about it. And green hydrogen in particular is important because it is in its development phase, but it has a massive potential for replacing the gas for many of the coal power fire stations and delivering on a green strategy for powering our energy and our electricity market. So this is quite fundamental. There are a lot of ideas around this. There are potential investments that are going to happen. Now, in our conversations as it is right now, Premier, we at the stage of negotiating the finer details of this. And I would leave it at that, partly because negotiations are quite sensitive. The IPG has presented to us how they intend to fulfill and commit the 8.5 billion. As I said, it's a combination of different instruments. We need to ensure that these combination of different instruments are not onus on us. So they don't have, for example, certain requirements or certain commitments that we have to give off that would impede on our policy environment and our policy space. That's fundamental. We have made it very clear to the IPG partners that for us, that is a no-go area. That part of this commitment is about ensuring around your contribution towards funding our transport and future transition. So I think this is quite critical. We have gone into setting up a whole lot of different structures, and in the process of negotiations, as I've said, we should get into the details of that negotiation. So I want to leave it there. And I want to make a point about our comrades that were earlier, that it's called the Just Energy Transition Partnership because it's exactly and precisely that we need to get into. And during the negotiations, we had made that point very, very clear. That you cannot separate the decarbonization, for example, of South Africa or the decommissioning of the coal fleet. That is the kind of commitment that we made in the integrated resource plan. Right? without having the conversation and the impact that it has on workers. And that is fundamental. But you cannot also talk about it as if it's just words. Because for me, and my comrades here have introduced me as a former unionist. And when we introduced Sizwe was a colleague of mine. We worked together when I was still at Naledi, I was the executive director of Naledi. And we developed an initiative around just energy transition. We developed a book. One of our first thinking pieces, and by the way, was used by the ITC, which is the International Trade Union Confederation, as the thinking piece of what a just transition would mean for South Africa. But during those conversations in the early 2010s, there were many promises of just jobs. Right? But the one thing that I know, and I find, because I'm rooted in the union movement, that was my very first job, and I worked for them for 22 years, is that we don't do well globally. We don't do well globally. We don't do well, particularly in South Africa, around managing economic transitions, particularly where they impact negatively on workers and communities. And that's fundamental. So we have to talk about that. We have to talk about the reality of the situation. We have to talk about the economics. We have to talk about the impact that it has. Because the unusual and uniqueness in the way that our systems are designed, particularly around how we produce energy, does require for us to have a fundamental conversation. It's not just simply about Noom and Noosa talking about our worker rights and the rights about what impacts the power station, for example, when you have engagements with Komati or Camden or the Dream. It is also about the community organizations and the community members and supply chains and businesses, small scale and large scale businesses that are impacted by decisions because they participate in that entire value chain, significantly so. So it's not just about workers, it's about communities and organizations in those communities. And that is quite fundamental to us. So we put that at the center, but it's quite critical for us to sit with. And I think the comrade from Ground Up made that fundamental point. We don't want you to tell us about consultation. We actually want to engage and have a capacity. Chopi and I have been having conversations about this for the past few weeks. And we have said that part of our commitment, and we want to raise it with the EU. We have raised it already with the AFD. We want to raise it with other funders. That we need to get commitments on grant funding that can support the capacity of community-based organizations and trade unions in meaningful engagement around a just energy transition. And that is fundamental. So I'm not making comments. I'm not making a promise that there's nothing. I'm making a promise that it is on our radar and our agenda to support funding for a just transition engagement, and I think that's fundamental. You cannot expect us to have resources to engage, to have all these different experts from all over the world to engage, and then you expect to go into a conversation with unions and community-based organizations and community members and expect them to just rubber stamp what we do. So fundamentally, that's important for us, and it's why I think for me to be here is to bring the discussion that we had at the global level, at the national level, to a level of where I think it's quite critical for us to be able to do. My third point that I want to make is that the 8.5 billion that we committed, but that has been offered, excuse my mistake, is just a small but a very significant component of managing our just energy. And I made this point before. Because if I compare that to what we require, which is close to $250 billion US dollars, and that's about 4 billion rand, is a very important component. And I don't want to discount that. Especially to our colleagues from the EU that have put in a significant amount of effort, time, and resources. We have a strong partnership with them. It's quite critical that we get implementation of the first phase right of the 8.5 billion. We have to build on that and see how we go forward on that. But it's quite critical that the 8.5 is just a small component of a bigger component that we hope to negotiate with them, but we also have to. And this means that when we talk about the 8.5 billion and how how it funds investment plans of South Africa, you need to understand it in that context. So you recall the first point that I made is that we need an economy that integrates just energy transition in the way we think about macroeconomics and the way we plan, the issues that Kenneth had raised earlier. So our investment plans, and this is what is quite critical for us, is that our investment plans must be investment plans up until 2050. And it must have right size about how we want to implement and integrate the just energy transition and the funding and resources that are allocated. And that's quite important. So we're not designing an investment plan simply for the 8.5 billion that is being offered. We're designing a countrywide investment plan that would be more than just the 8.5, but 8.5 is central and quite critical. And that's an important step for us as we move into this negotiation and this conversation. The Presidential Climate Finance Task Team, together with the Secretariat that we set up with the IPG to manage this negotiation process, is in the process of developing those kind of investment plans. We are engaging with ESCOM, for example, because ESCOM is pertinent. ESCOM would have to get quite a substantial and significant part of the 8.5 billion to look at much of what Andre had said and what Kenneth had said earlier on around strengthening the grid access, the transmission network, building new capacity, decommissioning, for example. Similarly, we would have to look at resources that will have to go to the other two components. So this is important for us, and this is the reason why it's quite critical for us to continue and have a conversation. And it's going to be a tough negotiations. I can tell you now. There's no doubt about the negotiations of pinning down and ensuring that the flow of money goes into the investment plans that we set up with specific bankable, shovel-ready projects are going to get quite. Here is an opportunity, Premier Tsipani, for us to be able to make a case for this project to see a substantial flow of that money into ensuring that the just energy transition is happening. And I think that is going to be quite critical in the conversation that we must have, because that's where it happens the most, and this is going to be critical. My last two points is that I wanted to touch on not necessarily so that's where we're at with the negotiations, and I want to commit the head of the Presidential Climate Finance Task Team and myself, of course, as the head of the project management office, to have regularly engagements with the clients. We have to go down to other communities that are around Marti, that are around Camden, that are around Indrino, and partner with the PCC to ensure that those kind of engagements, that we are able to give an update. Because these issues that we discuss about is issues that needs to be reflected and engaged upon. It's part of that engagement of ensuring that we capacitate community-based organizations and unions to have the resources to engage with. So I do think that I want to just give that commitment that we have to see us more regularly in those kind of engagements and how we can ensure the flow of money goes towards the province in supporting the just energy transition, because this is where it will be effective the most. So that's what I also want to talk about a little bit about some of the other work that we do, why I think there's a real investment opportunity. Kenneth had touched on it earlier, and I'm sure Andre. But we need to think about the Just Energy Transition Project as a total intervention that deals with energy security, ending load shedding, ensuring that we see fundamental transformation in the energy market and restructuring of ESCOM, and set ourselves for fundamental upward trajectory and growth, and inclusive growth. So don't see this as just one step in the corner of doing that, and others are going there. We have to create an environment where we're able to see the interlinkages between all of it. Let me use a good example, because the 30,000 hectares of land that's in the available. ESCOM is going to take quite a bit of time to do grid strengthening in the Northern Cape and in Port Elizabeth, for their customers. They're going to take a bit of time. A lot of it that they can probably do in the next couple of years, but it's not going to get to the full capacity that is required. And so the 30,000 hectares of land is quite a clear example of Eskom making available that land all in the open. So it's all linked to the grid transmission, the transmission networks that are right there, which is the most effective and efficient. Sun PV is not the best approach to the northern Cape, but I understand PV here, or the sun here, is comparable to the best sun in Germany, in the given sun here. Right? So it's quite good. I've been told. What we have is an opportunity to see how we lock in investors into using that land. And I think that the Mpumalanga government has to be in the forefront. Now, when Kevin has spoken about the embedded generation, the 100 megawatt cap, and the changes in the regulation, the rules, we have now seen part of our intervention, and many of you may have followed it, that we had to unlock, so when we changed the rules, we thought, this is what we could flow, we're going to get 4,500 megawatts of embedded generation, sub-generation flowing. It didn't happen for about 3 months, and we started asking questions, what's that? And then, of course, there were lots of issues around EIAs, water use licenses, grid connection, issues around budget codes, and some of these technical things that I don't know of. There was also issues around noise and registration. We started doing a team, an intervention team, bringing together all those government departments in the industry. And today, I can confidently say that doing a month and a half of those interventions, we were able to get confirmation of 58 projects from the private sector, totaling 4.5 gigawatts, 4,500 megawatts. These are at different stages of development. Many of them have had water approvals, and they at the point of where they, of course, get finance and they have to have financial clearance. I can say also with confidence that the first of that was registered a week ago. Solar. Two now. 2 projects now. Okay. I was talking just about the solar project. There was 200 megawatt PV plants. I'm happy to know that there's 2 right now. We think there's going to be a flurry of them as we move through the red sector. But that is an opportunity for us to be able to do. Now, if you're able to, as Kenneth says, deal with that gap, that 4.5, 5 or 6,000 gap, then we're able to get 4.5 gigawatts of embedded generation onto the grid as quickly as possible. It has a significant impact, not only of opening up the generation space, but also trying to alleviate load shedding in the gaps. Right? So it has an opportunity. Now, that agreement, I think it's important that the province should be engaging with those 28 projects and talking about where are your investment decisions taken in terms of physical sites. We have the land available over there, 30,000 hectares. It is in our province. How do we attract you to build the PV plants on where we think we are going to be commissioned as we go to the future? So a conversation with those who are building these PV plants around margin. So in a sense, what it does do, it creates an opportunity for, as you decommission, you create an opportunity for massive investment. This investment value, by the way, is not small. Really not. We're talking about 65 to 70 billion rand of investment. That's besides the fact that we're going to have supply development, the replacements of the different panels that are there, the different procurement that has to happen, maintenance, etc., etc. But if those 4.5 gigawatts, the vast majority of them are built here in Mpumalanga, we think that in a way we can really talk now about a just energy transition agreement, because that's exactly what we look at. And I think it's important for us to take that opportunity up as soon as possible to talk to those people. And many of those 58 projects are mines, right? They're big industrial users, as Kennedy said, the data center users, malls, and a whole lot of different things. And certainly, I'm willing to get into contact with your office, so we share this with the relevant people that we engage with. And I think that's an opportunity when one talks about the just energy transition and being able to lock in the private sector into a conversation. So, I said I was going to talk for 5-10 minutes, and I think I went over to 20 minutes. But I think it's just the a wonderful opportunity for us to be here to give you a report back. I want to do that regularly. I think that's going to be quite critical. We have to talk about genuine just energy transition, not about pie in the sky and saying, okay, jobs are going to happen, because I know that, as I've said from my union days, when we started negotiating when many of the tariff barriers had fallen away in the mid-90s. We introduced high-tech technology and new transformation in the sectors, and they promised us millions of thousands of workers will find jobs elsewhere. Many of those thousands of workers are still queuing up in the unemployment line, and I think it's important that we do manage this in a manner that does address fundamentally that structural shift in the way that we want to see economic growth through the changes in energy, that there are real opportunities for young people in particular, and for many of the communities in the world. Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that, Rudi. We're about to break for tea, and I would request, please, ladies and gentlemen, to confine yourself to about 10 to 15 minutes, then take your seat, and when we come back, you'll be in the last stages of the program, which sees 2, possibly 3 short two panel discussions, and then closure. I know some of you are looking at traveling far distances after the conference, and so we want to be quite efficient in the way we bring the concluding session as soon as possible. We can break for tea now. Please confine yourself to 15 minutes. I'll give a time check for you to take your seats. Thank you.